Hello,
Okay,
everybody. This is Paula Connor with Elevate Me Hub, and I'm with two beautiful sisters, Nina Starsong from we have Tamara coming to us from Australia. And of course, it's already the 8th of September where Tamara is. So again, we're doing time travel, which is always fun. And I thought that we would get together today to have a conversation about God and with God, because I was at a business meeting recently and it was mentioned in that meeting that it's like God has become a swear word, right? Like talking about that language has been so distorted, and we all understand it's been by design to steer us away from the divinity that we all are. But as I was just sharing with you girls, I was driving to get dinner for my husband. It's his birthday today. And I was having a chat with God on my way, because I bring him everywhere. Obviously, why would you leave him at home, right? Gotta bring him with you. And it was like, I don't think I'm not perfect enough. I'm not worthy enough to talk about you, right? And then I was on a video call with some friends earlier today, and they said, you know what God would be saying? Thank you for talking about me. Thank you for sharing your experiences. So as I said, we were at a business meeting, and it is almost like God is a swear word. And so both of you I've met, and Nina, obviously we've had a couple of conversations together, and Tamara a little bit earlier this year, but we use the same language. And I thought that it might be good to have a chat about creator, source, cosmos, universe, whatever word you want to use, but specifically the 3-letter word has been grossly distorted. And so maybe we could, because you can't explain God to people. It's experiential, right? You can't talk about it. Like how do you describe something that is indescribable? And I'll just kick this off with this little bit, because when I was around 13 or 14, we were living in Barrie, and there was a thunderstorm, and my mom was downstairs doing laundry, and I was frightened by the thunder. And she proceeded to tell me that we have a very, very angry God, and that God took away her father. Both my mom and dad lost their fathers when when the children were only 12 or 13, right? So my dad lost his dad when he was like 12, and my mom lost her dad when she was like 13. So she proceeded to tell me that we have a very, very jealous God, and that he's very, very angry. And that's what the thunder was. And that he's a jealous God because he took her father away from her because she loved her dad more than she loved God. And that was my introduction to the creator of all that is. So of course, as a young woman, 13, 14, I didn't want anything to do with that dude, right? Like who, you know what I mean? Being so young and innocent at that age. And it wasn't really until early 2000s when I started seeking. I had a Kundalini experience in meditation, and I was driving to the bookstore, and I was looking for a book, right? I had a little voicemail book, not like this, because I was a sales rep at the time, and I'd written a couple of books in there I wanted to go pick up. And I went to reach into the back of my car to get the book, and a little voice inside of me said, don't worry, you'll find what you need. So I left the book, and I didn't really this is still new to me, like that many years ago. And I went into the chapters, and I found that I was in completely not the spiritual enlightenment self-help section, but I was in the religious section. And I had found a book by Neil Donald Walsh called At Home with God in a Life That Never Ends, Conversations with God. And when I touched that book, it was literally like lights came on, the angels started to say, like, seriously, it was like, I'm like, okay, fine, I have to get this book. And I left with that one. I left with the one by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, about him being a Holocaust survivor. And the other one was by Marianne Williamson, Return to Love. And that is the book that even changed my ability to use the 3-letter word God, because I didn't like the word, and I certainly didn't like obey. But now.
Now here we are.
And now here we are.
With me, it's like my dad died suddenly of a heart attack when he was 58. And my mother was there and she was going, how can God do this? How can God do this to us? Yeah. How can God do this to me? And I had been studying nutrition at the time and everything to do with health. Yeah. And when we got the autopsy back, it was a hardening of the arteries. And I said to my mother, I said, God didn't take Dad away. I said, Dad had hardening of the arteries. That's a physical thing. That's something to do with his health. It's got to do with his diet. It had to do with his emotions. Yeah? Like really, really interesting. And I lost my, I'm a grandmother of 3, and 2 of the girls have died. They died as babies. And I have my grandson who is now nearly 17. But my first granddaughter died at 5.5 months. So again, and my mum was still alive at the time, and like it was just devastating. But then that led me on the path to seek out a man by the name of Isaac Golden here in Australia. And he had written a book about, and my granddaughter, who was 5.5 months, died a week after. So all of this to do with the pharmaceuticals, to do with like jabbing and all of that. It's like, yes. I say to people, just talk to me about it. Yeah, just talk to me about it, because what they did in Japan, they actually banned the 3 years, and there was no cot death. So of course they call it cot death. So that's SIDS. Now what have we got? We've got
Adult.
SAD.
They have adult.
Yeah, we've got
That's
SADs. Yeah, we've got the SADs now. Yeah. So my whole thing is, it's like, poor God has been blamed for so much stuff, that he had nothing to do with it. And as I say to people, we are here, and I do soul chart readings, been doing them for 40 years. And I say to people, this is your soul's blueprint. This is what your soul is all about. This is the journey that it's come to do. And then they go, well, what about free will? And I said, your free will is going inside of your heart and saying to yourself, is what I'm about to do a negative thing coming from negativity, or is what I'm about to do a positive thing that is coming from love? And if your answer is it's a positive thing, it's like, then you're working with the energy in the right way. I said, that's what he gives us. He gives us that free will, because we all know right from wrong. But at the same time, the first 10 years of our lives, as you girls would know, is our programming time. Mm-hmm. So whatever is going on in our environment during that 10-year period, from birth to the age of 5, we are all unconscious little beings, and we flit around on the planet, and the planet's wonderful, and we're just absorbing everything on an emotional level. Then 6 to the age of 10, that conscious logic starts to click in. But when I'm doing a soul reading, and when I'm saying to people, listen, in the first 10 years of your life, and I'm looking here at this part of the chart and go, lack of confidence, you're not born with it. Low self-esteem, you're not born with it. A fear of financial scarcity, you're not born with it. A belief that who you are isn't good enough, you're not born with it. All of these patterns you learn, and you learn from your environment. And I was very, very lucky. I had a religious father who believed in God and Jesus, but had a run-in, the family had a run-in with the church. So there wasn't a lot to do with church. I taught Sunday school for a little while because I love Jesus, and I call Jesus Christ. I say to people, it's Jesus Christ. You don't say Jesus, it's Jesus Christ. It's Jesus Christ, because they've adulterated his name. Yeah. But with Dad once said to me, he said, I was 8 years of age, and he said, just come outside for a minute. I went outside, and he said, what are you standing on? I said, I'm standing on the dirt. He goes, no, You're standing on the floor of God's church. So just look up. What are you looking at? I said, the sky. And he said, no, you are looking at the roof of God's church. And he said, and going into a man-made building one day a week is not going to make you a good Christian.
That's true.
But at the same time, when you get a bit older, I will talk to you about how you need to be careful of some people, because some people do not come into your life to benefit you. Some people come into your life to take from you or to use you. But he's, and this was like later on, and he explained to me about having gut feelings. And he said, and I'm not talking about fear, I'm talking about just a feeling that you will get that something doesn't feel right, or that somebody doesn't feel right. Something that you're being told, you're going, I don't know, something doesn't feel right there. I'm hearing what this person is saying, but it just, no.
Spidey sense.
So that's what I say to people. To me, that feeling that you get, that's God. That's God trying to say to you, be careful. That's God trying to say to you, I wouldn't do that if I was you. That's God trying to say to you, this person is not in your life for your higher good. So that was my experience.
That was your upbringing and your exposure. Yeah,
That
see
was
how
my
vastly different to myself when I was young, because we didn't have, I remember going, we were sent to Bible school. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I don't remember us as a family ever going there. And as I say, both parents, and like you, my father, he died very young. He had his first heart attack at 39. And that was to do with stress, very, very angry person. So 3 heart attacks, triple bypass, and a heart transplant.
Yeah.
Right? Nina,
yeah,
what would you like to share with respect to your exposure to this to when you were young? And then we'll start getting into some of the incredibly unique experiences, because I can't possibly compare the relationship I have with Source to what Tamara's is, or to Nina's, or anybody else, because it's so perfectly unique for each individual. So what would you like to share, Nina?
Well, first of all, I love that we're saying God, and I love that we're saying Jesus the Christ. This is so refreshing for me, because there's power in those words. There's power in the word Christ. It's more than a name. It's a frequency. It's a sword of light that cuts through every chain, every demonic stronghold, and every single spiritual being. Everything that God created answers to that name. And God is my hero, is my best friend, is my mother, is my father, is my lover, is the big man on the white horse that I was dreaming of to come rescue me out of the horrible, evil castle that Satan had me locked in, from the things that I went through as a little girl, and the way that my father treated me, and the way he treated my mother. And thankfully, my mother, when I was a little girl, she said, "Do you want to know who God is?" I said, "I do." And she said, "Look in the mirror."
Yeah.
And I would look in the mirror and stare into my eyes, and I was like, "There you are." And I would just stare, and it was like, and then I started singing, and I would wake up and sing with the birds, and just like the birds sing to God, I was just bubbling over with this joy that was coming out of my heart song, which I understand God gives each one of us our own heart song. So much in scripture is misunderstood, because it's not necessarily even that it's been used and weaponized against us. Yes, it has, but also because our modern day languaging, when we apply it to the words, we misinterpret it. And so I've really come to understand that when they say in the image of Jesus, it means in the name of. Well, what is the name? It's a frequency, a sound. And Jesus says, my sheep and my children know me. I know them by their name, and they know me by my voice. It's talking about your heart song. And I believe that God gives each one of us that, because that is our way of uniquely communicating with God, that is the creator of everything, even everything that has rebelled against God. God still created it, so it still has to abide by the same heavenly legal law system, which is why we need Jesus the Christ. But I just wanted to say one thing about what I really am realizing, exactly what you ladies are both saying is, and I hear this all the time, is God is getting blamed for so many of people's inability to take responsibility for their own life, for their own action. And then it's like, oh, it's God's fault. It's like, no, actually, it's not God's fault. It's your fault. And God wants to set you free. It's your fault. Or you've inherited it through your ancestral lineage, and God wants to break those chains for you.
That's it.
And what we've learned through a lot of the New Age and the world system is that we have to work for God's love. But that's a total fallacy, because God's gift of love and gift to deliver us and gift to save us is just the gift of grace. And we don't have to work for it. And that's what I was going to say to you, Paula, is you are not perfect. I am not perfect. Tamara is not perfect. Jesus the Christ is perfect. God is perfect. We are a fragment of that. And when the Spirit comes into us and we're born again through the Spirit, we become the Tamara that is the Christed version, the Nina that is the Christed version, the Paula that is the Christed version. But we're still prone to these human, fleshly, worldly experiences. And we're prone to make mistakes. But the whole point is that when you have God, you always win. So God will use everything meant for evil to hurt you or harm the world, which is exactly what God is doing right now, to actually, so the darker the world is becoming, the more people are going, oh my gosh, I'm having encounters with Jesus. I need Jesus. I need God. Don't you think God knows exactly what God is doing? God is brilliant.
I know,
God
right?
is amazing.
Like, we have a better idea. So I have to share this because, well, there's two things. The first comment I wanted to say to what you had shared is the language is grossly distorted. And one of them would be, oh, you have to take Jesus in your heart. So a lot of people, that might confuse people, but all that really means is you have to open your heart to love in order for Jesus the Christ to embody, for that monad to step in. Because if you don't say, God, I would really like to have a relationship with you, we are left to our own free will. And we are, to your point, Nina, we are found in the seeking. The moment you say, I need you in my life, it's like the whole universe rearranges itself to support you.
Ask and you shall receive. Ask and you shall receive. Like, you know, that's huge.
And it happens. It happens through the symbols of the world. It happens through synchronicity. And for me, I find, well, what I was saying to someone else, you know, at the end of the day, the whole idea, because even like to those atheists that are listening that have decided, I don't believe, right? I would just encourage you to do exactly what Nina was doing when she was a little girl, because I did exactly that, Nina, after I read The Secret, because I'm looking in my eyes, trying to find that feeling, connect to that native frequency, that heart song that we all have. And I would have to stare in the mirror for a while and go, where are you? I know you're in there. And then I would see like a flash of light and I'd have a surge. I'm like, oh, there you are. But I'd have to work at it at first. Like, I'd have to, like, you know what I mean? Work at it to connect to it. And now all I have to do is barely even let the word roll off my tongue. And I'm already, my heart is swollen with love, and I'm overwhelmed with this feeling. It's like what Einstein said. You either believe that everything is a miracle or it's not. With God in your life and Jesus in your life, everything is a miracle. When
and I think
not, we have the 3D, we have the, you know, the limited external reality. And then I'll finish with this, because I was having a conversation with someone who is very, very near and dear to me. And, the comment was, why is God letting all of this happen?
Mm.
And I said, oh, well, what do you think that's about? And they said, like, well, I think God's doing it wrong. And I started to laugh. I said, oh, that's so funny. God's doing it wrong. He's not doing it wrong. It's actually perfectly orchestrated.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, it's like it had to happen. I don't know if you girls have heard my daily mantra. Have you heard
I think
that?
you sent it to me. I think you sent it to me tomorrow.
With so many people all over the world that are doing it, because I've just said to people, send it out, send it out, send it out, send it out. Yeah. Because if everyone is saying the same thing, we're getting that incredible resonance that's going out there into the world, that vibration, the vibration of the words. Yeah, are just so very, very powerful. But when we started, you were talking about like the attacks and about the demonic and all of that. And I shared a long time ago what I do every night. And I'm lying in bed, and it's like I've got a cross, right? A white golden cross underneath me that goes from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, one over the top, one on the left side of me that joins up with the one on the top of the bottom, another one on the right, one under my feet, and one over the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I just say, I am protected by the golden white light of Jesus Christ and God.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And people are talking about, I've been attacked. I'm being attacked. I've got this, and I'm going, well, ask Jesus Christ and God for protection.
Yep.
Do this when you go to bed at night. Do you think they're going to come within cooey of you? They're going to go, oh no.
Yeah.
Like I'm sidestepping that one. Yeah, because you've got the protection. Then I walk out my front door, and it's like I'm in a knight of shining armor, and I just go, armor of God, I am protected. And out I go. And then I go, oh, and I'm visible.
Yeah.
That was a big one with me, with wearing masks and all of this. I just went invisible.
Yeah.
And I'd be shopping, and nobody, it's like they didn't even see me.
Same. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I say to people, you bring in that energy. And I said, and you are protected. You are protected. And if you, and I'm saying to people at the moment, whatever you focus on, and I've taught this for 40 years in my seminars, whatever you focus on is what you are going to get. So there are people out there on like the platforms that we're on, and they keep on talking about all of this negativity and all of, and this demonic thing. And I go, what are you doing? What are you doing? All you are talking about is that over and over and over and over again. You are giving it energy. You're giving it energy, and what you focus on, you'll keep on bringing into you. Stop it now. Stop it. Stop it.
I think that's been largely forgotten,
Yeah.
or lost perhaps, because one of the greatest, we know that, our greatest gift is the imagination, which is the Christ.
Yes.
It's Jesus Christ is the imagination. That's how we create, right? And I was chatting again to my, someone else I was talking to, about just comments like, I'm sick of this world. And I'm like, you're never going to turn on the television and the man on the box say, everything's going to be okay. We're going to save you. You're not ever going to get that. The only place you can go now is to the heart, which is where source is. Because people are still, they're still looking outside of themselves for wisdom. And it's got to be.
And they're still looking out there for somebody to save them. I said, we have been programmed to go to someone for our answers. We've been programmed to go to someone to give us money so we can live. We've been programmed to go here. We've been programmed to go there. We've been programmed to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the thing is, all of that now, it's like, as we know, it's breaking down and it's going to continue to break down. Yeah. It's fascinating. We are at such an incredibly fascinating time on the planet. I am so excited. I'm saying to people, I'm excited. I did September New, and I went, oh my God, we're in the Mary Magdalene and Mary, Mother of Jesus Christ. We're in the energy for the month of September. Holy shit. Hang on to your feet.
It's true. I mean, you can feel it. If you've got any kind of sense of feeling into it's buzzy as shit, right? It's so buzzy.
Yep. So now I'm saying to people, just watch the feminine energy around you. Just look at other women. Just look at how you're going to be with other women, because other women that are, if they're not coming from that God, Jesus Christ space, it's like they're going to be spinning out and they're going to be doing behavior, and you're going to go, you know what? I'm setting my boundaries. This is not okay.
Yeah.
You don't serve me in my life for me to live and function at my highest level of vibration with God and Jesus Christ. I don't, I'm sorry, but I can't have you in my life anymore if you are speaking negatively about someone. If you are going to be bitching about this one or that one or something else, I'm sorry. It's like, what is it called? Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, that song. It's like, no. It's like there's no space for you inside my home.
Yeah, there's really, Nina, you were going to say something.
We all have to be aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say that I would just like to clarify, because when you tell people you need Jesus, I think that a lot of people think about this man, Jesus, that is outside of you. And in my personal experience, when I was attacked by 3 demons in Paris, and I'm going to talk about it because a lot of people are going through it right now, and I don't think they need to be afraid of it. And so I like to talk about it to give them the tools to know what to do. And the ones that are being attacked are the ones that don't have Jesus, by the way. And God is showing them why they need Jesus, the Christ. Okay, so it's leading them right into the arms of Jesus Christ, because suddenly their crystals aren't doing it. And I'm like, no, your crystals aren't going to do it. That's something outside of you. That is not the Christ inside of you, awakening inside of you, reclaiming you. Anyways, when it happened to me, I went through the battle for 3 days. I've talked about it on the Divine Feminine Roundtable, but on the 3rd day, the Holy Spirit from inside of me, which I knew was Jesus the Christ, because you just know, it's like, when it's Jesus. Everybody does. It doesn't matter what part of the world you live in, what religion you were raised in. I mean, I work with people in India that are like, they're giving up, the things that they grew up with all these multiple gods in this, because they're having encounters with Jesus. God is doing this right now.
That's right.
I remember when the light jumped in my heart, I went, oh, Jesus, and I was like looking at my heart, and I was like, Jesus, you're inside me. Oh my gosh, Jesus, I've known you. I know you. Oh my gosh, I know you. And my whole heart opened up, and the song of angels came out of my heart. But Jesus said to me, you will hear this sound one more time in your life. And when you hear this song, you will look up and you will know what it means. And I was shown that this was a time when God was taking his people back, those that he already pre-chose. And no, not everyone is going to be like, I'm sorry. I'm just being honest about what I was shown. I was shown there's a massive group of souls that will be left behind, and the rapture is very real. I didn't even know what the rapture was. I didn't know what revelation was. He was showing me all of this. And then over the next couple of years led me to the scriptures. And I was going, oh my gosh, God is speaking to me. This is real. This is really happening. And then it has all proceeded to happen. Every single thing that God told me to happen has happened. And I'm not super happy about some of the things he showed me that haven't happened yet, but I know are going to happen. But what it's doing is it's pushing everyone right back into the arms of Jesus. And Actually, it was Matt Kahn that said the Pleiadian prophecy is that all the angels, I'm going to say the star seeds, because we're not angels, we're actually above the angels. That's another clarification. They are here to work to protect us. They are not above us.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So a lot of people are getting really confused, right? This Luciferian stuff. Oh, pray to the angels. No, 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 no. If you pray to the angels, you're actually praying to demons and you don't know it. They're fallen angels, and they really dressed up real pretty, shiny colors and such. But just, yeah, it's like, this is a time of the Holy Grail. I am taking my children back. I'm taking my people back. And we need to be warriors in the Christed light. We need to know the authority we walk with, so that every single one of us, like you, Tamara, when you wake up, and you, Paula, and I wake up, you know, they're like, uh-oh, she's awake. Like, oh, she just came into the room. We're running. I walk into a place now and the demons flee. They used to harass me. My whole life, they harassed me until I found out the power of Christ in me. And when you know that, then you're very dangerous to Lucifer's kingdom and his army, which is why so many are being attacked right now. Because what I was shown is that all the light workers would be rising up all over the world, and there would be like a revolution, a revival of the Christed light through art, through song, through poetry, that everything that maybe was sort of associated with New Ageisms that we're understanding is a bit backwards, or, oh, the crystals, I don't need the crystals. I don't need the tarot cards. I just need what's in here. And my own Christed DNA is the brightest thing that has ever existed. Nothing outside of me is brighter than that. That's where we need to be right now.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because I've seen demons before, and I've said, I think I've shared this with on the Divine Feminine too, is that I have this, I can go into darkness and love them anyway. And I've seen them before, and I've said, even you are welcome in the arms of God. You're forgiven as well.
That's right.
Everybody is forgiven. That's why, so like, you know, like if you mess up as a human, what do you think? God's going to go, oh no, sorry, that's it for you. Off you go to purgatory forever because you make a mistake or you make a poor judgment call or whatever. It's completely ridiculous. And that was where the programming comes in the Bible. That's probably the biggest mind control mechanism ever used, because it's riddled with truths, but it's buried beneath lies, and you really need to decode it. Right.
And my dad used to read the Bible every day.
I do now. I do.
And he would be reading the Bible, and he would say to me this and this and this. And I can remember, it's like I won a competition at school. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in me shall not perish but have everlasting life. John 3:16. Right? Because I got the highest marks for religious studies, because I just loved Jesus the Christ.
Yes.
Yeah, I would go, and if I went to Sunday school, I wanted the stamp. They used to give little stamps of Jesus, you know. And I said to my dad once, I said, when I get bigger, he said, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be like Jesus.
Yes.
Pretty good. Well, whenever I don't know what to do, it's usually like, what would Jesus do? What would love do? Right. You go back to that whole, when you had that light jump in your heart, Nina, when you're talking about that. So I remember actually a number of years ago, I went for a walk, and when I got home, I actually wrote in my journal, I met presence today. I actually wrote those words down, because it happens in the moment you're in, and it has to be in the now. It has to be when you're completely present to have that real connection. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm walking on this Monsell Road, and it was like, you imagine that someone pokes their head through a curtain, you know, like through it. And it was basically like God popped his head out of this invisible curtain on the side of nature. And it was like, hi. And I'm like, wow. I remember going home going, I met presence today. I had a moment, a one-on-one kind of still moment with God. And when something like that happens, you're like, did anybody else see that? Like, am I the only one experiencing this miracle in the woods kind of thing? It's really, I didn't have an experience like you did, just as you were talking about in Paris. But when I was engaged with plant medicine, Jesus did pop in as well. That was incredible. I bawled, I wept with so much joy. And actually, in the first vision, I remember I was taken to a pond or a pool in this cave. There was a beautiful goddess there. And there was something in this pool of water. I put it, like had a scuff on it. So I put it in the water and I washed it, and all this bright light, and I put it into my heart. And then my heart started to glow, like you said. And I looked to my left and I could see a being or person laying down on what I would say is like a gurney. And then their heart started to glow and they sat up. And I didn't know what that meant way back then, but now I do, because
resurrection,
clarity and hindsight is always, you tend to, you integrate ayahuasca, like it takes a couple of years to kind of integrate everything that you saw and what you learned, and it takes a bit to unpack it. But yeah, and that goes to free will though. People can believe that God is not real, but it's impossible. But they can believe it's not real and that they're not connected.
Yeah.
Even those that have chosen, I don't believe in you. They're allowed to believe it, but it's impossible.
Yep.
And I say to them, just look at yourself in the mirror. That's creator. You were created by something so magnificent, so incredible. You don't have to remember to breathe. You don't have to remember to grow your hair or beat your heart or grow your toenails or your hair. All of that stuff happens brilliantly on its own. So if people don't believe, just take a look in the mirror and look how incredible you are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like to seek the kingdom of God, look within.
Exactly.
Yep. I am that I am.
That's right. I am the great I am.
Yeah.
And Jesus is the key that unlocks your heart into the kingdom of God that is here at hand now. Heaven and hell are also states of consciousness, and heaven is here now as much as hell is here now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad used to say to me, he said, there's no such place as heaven and hell. It's here.
Yeah.
It's here on the earth. We have heaven and we have hell on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And you choose what it is that you are going to live. Mm-hmm. He was a pretty cool dude, my dad.
Yeah,
since I've been doing this journey over the last couple of years, it's been going like, oh my God, Dad used to do this, Dad used to do that. Like interesting, just very, and he used to say this and that. And then when my mum died, I got his Bible. I just said, nobody else in the family wanted it. I said, I want Dad's Bible. I want Dad's Bible, because Mum had kept it. And I would sit up in bed, and I still have it on my bedside table. And I go through, and there's a photograph of his youngest child that died at the age of 6. And he's got the photograph of like a little Stuart, because my mum and dad they'd had 2 marriages. And it's like, and it's interesting, and how he's highlighted things. And then he wrote, do not eat pork. It's like all of this to do with food. He's written all of this down on the inside page of the inside cover of his Bible. He's just written all of this down, and I thought, right, he's left this to me. Like, it's like he's written all of this down for me, because at some point in time in my life, it's like I would have that book, and I'll have the opportunity to read that.
How lucky. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
But you mentioned the word resurrection, and that's exactly what's happening right now on the planet, especially for those that have chosen to embody as much of their monad or true self as possible. But I want to switch gears a little bit, because clearly God comes to all of us in our own unique way, whether or not you're seeking or not. We know that you're found as soon as you're found is the moment you say, I'd like a relationship. And that is the moment that your life changes from the mundane to absolute magic and miracles, to go back to your whole idea of the kingdom of heaven is within. Because the guides that I've been working with, Nina, Paul selling through the guides, they wrote a book called The Kingdom, and they say the keys to the kingdom are your agreement to it. And so when you embrace that, that's when you're like, I've noticed my perception has changed so much since I've included that God and Jesus into my life. My perspective has changed.
Yeah.
Just having a moment with the hummingbird is like a miracle. The fact that it would hang out and like just look at me for a few minutes, or a monarch butterfly. I find the birds talk to me. I find the wind. I find, especially lately, I have a relationship now with the elements. Like the water is like silk. Since I've spent all summer on the water, I feel like I'm in the body of the mother when I'm in the water. Like everything changes. It's not like I'm going for a swim on the lake and gonna have a beer. It's like I'm in everything comes alive and is so much more rich and beautiful. Your dreams, your meditations, and a simple encounter with someone who may have some sadness. Maybe they're sitting on their porch. This happened to me, obviously, I'm sharing it. I saw someone who was sitting on their porch and they looked really sad. And then if they see someone go by that is a complete stranger that goes, hi. Hi, it snaps them right out of that moment of sadness, and they're reminded that there is beauty and kindness and beautiful smiles in the world, and not to forget that.
Well, we had in one of the shows that I was on, we were talking about like the homeless people here in Melbourne and like the homeless people in LA when I've been there working. And it's like I always stop and I always go down to their level, bob down and go, hi, look in their eyes, hi. And they go, hi. And I go, how are you today? They go, okay. I went, all right. I said, do you want to talk about why you're in this, situation? And they say to me like, no. And I said, well, I've got some money for you. So I give them some money, and I would just say to them, God bless you. Touch them and I would go, God bless you. And then I would get up and I would walk, and people look at me and they're going like, you're weird, but especially in LA with the people that I would work with over there, we'd go out for dinner and then we'd come out and there would be, and I would stop, I would talk, I would give them money. But people would say to me, how do you know what they're doing with the money? I go, I don't care what they do with the money. Or they're likely to go and buy alcohol, or they're likely to go and buy drugs. I go, whatever it is that they choose to do is whatever it is that they choose to do with it. Yeah.
You chose to extend kindness.
Absolutely. And I always say to people, my mother would always say, there but for the grace of God go I.
Well, we never know where the angels are. Right? I mean, we're constantly tested. Yeah. Right? I mean, there's so many Cinderella, whatever. There's so many movies and whatnot that depict someone who looks, perhaps low of character, or however we might judge them. And you never know where the angels are. You never know the kindness. So you're either kind or you're choosing not to be.
You're either kind or you're selfish and self-centered.
Yeah. So
basically, the world revolves around that selfish, self-centered person.
Yeah. It's like the two. It's like the two heart chakras. One is service to self. Gotta have self-love. One is service to other, and that has to be absolutely perfectly balanced. Absolutely. And everything that we're talking about here has been programmed differently, so we have to unlearn all of it.
That's right.
That's right. And it's getting our ability to not judge has to expand, because right now where a lot of the family of light, where a lot of them are getting caught or sort of maybe, karmically or legally allowing themselves to be attacked, is because they are judging others so harshly. And if you are judging others and you are attacking others, even, and that has been part of the setup, is we don't know how much we've been told is true or not. And the truth is that doesn't actually matter, because it doesn't take away from the fact that God is in charge. God knows. We don't need to know all that. God knows all that. We need to know the authority that we walk in, and we need to know that, you know, what I tell people right now is, do you know the most important thing you can do is get as close to Jesus and God as you possibly can. And anything that comes into your life, or anyone that comes into your life, or anything that you watch or listen to that takes you far from that peace, that is the prince of darkness using something or someone as a portal to come between you and God. Renounce it, rebuke it, meaning get it out of your life immediately and get as close to God as you can and stay there. And you can't get close enough right now. You can't get close enough to Jesus or God. That for me, it's like, you know, until I go back home out of this flesh suit, like I can't get close enough. I can't get enough. And the crazier things get here, the more I need that. And the more I'm seeing the demons using people, because they are broken people are being used right now. People that have been, you know, are being used right now in a lot of cases. And I find myself even like, I'm not a judgmental person, but it's like they're being sent in to try to get me to judge. And I'm seeing like, wow, my capacity to not judge has to grow. And that's a beautiful thing. And so it's like, Jesus, help me. The more that we humble ourselves and say, help me. But I feel like a lot of us that have been on this spiritual path, we've really kind of shaped our learning around this has been, I have to be perfect. I have to be the most spiritual. I have to be the best yogini. I have to seem the most enlightened. And you put on an act, and that's not what it's about. It's about being willing to humble yourself and say, help me.
And also, and it's about being authentic, you know, and as I, you know, like I do a seminar called Born to Be Free that God gave to me 30 years ago, right? And we're relaunching it on the 11th of September because it was the only date available at the hotel where I do my seminars. That was really interesting.
That's really interesting.
But what I teach, one of the things I teach is when you judge something, somebody or something, it is not your judgment. It's what you have learnt. So you are judging based on what your parents have taught you, what if society has taught you, what the church has taught you. It's not even your judgment. So I say to people, you know, one of my biggest sayings, what other people think and say about me is none of my business.
None of my business. Yeah, I love that.
Because guess what? It's not even coming from them. It's how they have been taught. It's how they've been taught to, what they've been taught to say, what they've been taught to do, and it's not even them. So I just go, just put some God energy over there, and just off you go, and just, you know, I hope it works. I hope that the learning comes to you. However, it's like not in my space. And it's about honoring space. I think, you know, I don't know if you girls agree with this at the moment, but what I've been doing is really honoring my space, honoring what I listen to. If people call me and they're being negative, it's like, sorry, can't talk. You know, like somebody rings and it's like, and it's somebody that's trying to pull on my energy. I go, nope, there's an energy zapper here. Cut it. I've got to keep my energy. I've got to keep my energy, and I've got to keep myself clear because I'm working with people and supporting them at the moment. That's what's important.
Right.
You know, I don't know what you girls are experiencing in that way.
I'm definitely experiencing that because that part of my heart that wants to, you know, be the good Christian and be like very loving and kind of, when you're a big bright light, everyone comes to you, everyone flocks to you all the time. But when you're doing that professionally daily, you also need to protect your own container and space, and your whole life can't just be consumed with. So that's definitely something I've been absolutely distancing myself a lot more, and having stronger boundaries. And I also I had gotten off of social media and I was told to not go back on. Well, they deleted me. And then when I got into the band, I created an Instagram page which was sort of like the trick to get me to do it. And, you know, from the time that I created that Instagram page, I was barely even active on it. I started noticing my energy was being depleted, and I was getting attacked more and more. And so again, last month, I was like, what has been the shift in this past year? And it was like, boom, that. And God said, I told you to never go back in there. And you went in.
Yep.
Go in and delete your account immediately. And I did. And immediately all this energy has come back to me. So yeah, boundaries, really strong boundaries, a container, unplugging more and more and more and more and more from this world, because we are not of this world. We are in it, but we are not of it. We are of God's world. And this world is this matrix. We walk through it supernaturally, and God opens the doors for us now and lays out the golden or the red carpet, or whatever you want to say, because we have God. But we are not meant to then go back into it and plug back into it. That this is my own feeling.
Yeah. It's like something that's, you know, that has come up on the platform recently.
Okay.
You know, and then people have sort of sent me through information and go, oh my God, like, this is what's going on. Like, what do you think? You know, like, have you been in contact with this one or that one? My response was, this has got nothing to do with me. And this has got nothing to do with you. It's got to do with the two people concerned, or whomever. They have, this is their opportunity to work this out. Oh, but aren't you going to support? As I said, this has got nothing to do with me. This has got nothing to do with you. This has got to do with the parties concerned. And they've manifested this for a reason. So just pray for them.
Exactly. Pray for everyone. Stop judging everyone and pray for them.
Well, because I think that's another thing, see, that a lot of folks have forgotten, is that we're all here in this dance together in life. And we forgot that we might step on each other's toes now and again. Oops, my bad. Forgive us our trespasses, right? Forgive me. I made a mistake. I might have stepped on your foot. And that's where I go back to the whole idea of my relationship and my experiences with Source are vastly different, perhaps, than Nina's or yours or everybody else's, because your relationship with God is none of my business. It's none of my business. You are doing your and the other one I love about judgment that I learned from the guides is you cannot judge the path of another that you have not chosen for yourself. Cannot judge the path of another that you have not chosen for yourself, because it's none of your business. Do your own, or the other one I heard recently, eyes on your own paper.
That's it.
Eyes on your own paper. But we've forgotten, because there's so much evidence. If you're looking at lying stream media, there's all kinds of evidence that the world has gone for a shit. And it has, because it's supposed to. It's corrupted, distorted. Those that have been running this planet are in love with their perversions. They don't want to change. But Creator is here to say, okay, children, enough of your idea of separation. You've played long enough. Look at the bloody mess you've made. You know, everybody have a look and see what you've done, which is why we are seeing so much of this darkness now, because the light is getting brighter and brighter.
That's what I said. I said that the other day. I said, guys, it's like this. It's like the light is invading the dark, and it's shining its light in all of the corners where they've been trying to hide things away.
And they can't hide anymore.
Coming up, it's all coming out. What people have been trying to hide within themselves by having a facade in the outside world, the facade is dropping. So, you know, people are now seeing, and before, you know, we were sort of talking, you said about like handing your power away. And I'm saying to people, why are you going to tarot cards?
Exactly.
I'm going to the tarot cards. With the tarot cards, what did the tarot cards say for me today? What are the tarot cards saying? It's like, oh, for goodness sake, go inside of yourself. Your answers are in there. But because we've been
That's
taught
right.
to go to somebody else for our answers, you've got to go to the church, you've got to go to the priest, you've got to go to the teachers, you've got to go to the doctors. I said, we all know innately inside of ourselves. So what's happened is that we've just replaced that priest with tarot cards. Oh,
Yeah,
the tarot cards are going to give you
But
a
we don't,
reading
we don't, we
today.
don't, but we don't want to even judge the use of that, because that could be an important, because I'm learning about them. Now, do I
Yeah,
use
oh,
them as a crutch?
use-
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Some-
yeah.
some-
That's what I mean.
You
I
know
mean,
what
I read them. I've been reading the cards for 40 years. But am I up every 5 minutes doing my cards to see what's going on? If I have people calling me, will you throw the cards for me in regard to this? I go, no. No, I won't. No. You've done the session with me. You've done your soul reading. That was a part of that was your cards. You've got all of that. You've got it recorded. Go listen to it and empower yourself and connect with your soul's energy, because that soul's energy is your God. That's from God. So it's about connecting into that.
It's true. And it creates another idol, and it usually turns into an addiction.
That's it.
I've recently gotten rid of all my crystals. A lot of them, as I've come to learn, are being used to track a lot of us, because the representation of the crystals, the origination, if you go back to the book of Enoch, they were taken out of heaven in rebellion against God. So the crystals themselves are not dark, but it's sort of like you're in agreement with those that rebel against God. There's so much to all of this that a lot of it has been pushed into the spiritual community for a reason, and then it's being used against us. And it's the same thing with the tarot cards. I mean, a lot of this I was told in the beginning of my journey with Jesus, but I wasn't ready yet. And, as I grew in the spirit, suddenly I'm laying in my bed and I'm going, there's a spirit in my house. How is there something in my house? I'm not in agreement with this. You can't be in my house. And it's like, well, I am in agreement with that crystal. Well, okay, so it's time to get rid of these objects. And as God said to me, God said, do you think the crystal is more powerful than my power in you? No. Well, then give it up and I'll give you something greater, because I don't ever take anything away from you that I don't give back 100 times greater. And that is what I've had to learn over and over and over. Give up the cards, give up the crystals, give up anything that you've put as possibly having more power than me. I don't really do that anymore, but there's still a lot of people that are like going, wow, my crystals are a cage. I'm surrounded by like 500 crystals and I'm completely trapped in the 4D and the ascension in my consciousness. And it's like, it's time to get rid of all these things that you've put before God. And we all have different things that we put before God. But I do think it's true, Paula. I feel personally, for me, I'm just going to speak for myself. The God that I know is a protective God. And I will say jealous in the sense that anytime I have put something that is above God, God does take it from me, not because God's mean, but because God does not want me to live in disempowerment. And by me creating an idol out of that thing, I ended up just hurting myself. So it's like, I believe that we have this, motherly, fatherly, really kind of like, it's like the parent that's like, well, I'm not going to let my kid run in the road with scissors. I think that God gives us these massive messages and is like, if you start feeling in your own heart, wow, what is my thing with the crystals? I know for me, the way it showed up was like, I'm a slave to the stage. I'm a slave to my relationship. I'm a slave to everything. Why? God didn't create me to be a slave. Why do I feel like a slave? Who's my slave master? I started asking myself these questions in Paris, like everything, it feels like it's the same spirit coming through the same people. And as I was tracking it back, and that was when I had my encounter, was like, Satan is real. Jesus is real. So God is revealing these things to people for a reason right now. And I think it's kind of like, okay, it's time to give up the training wheels. Like you've all been using these training wheels for so long. If I don't take them away, you're not going to stop and you're not going to grow and ascend in the way that I am asking, that I desire for you to grow and ascend now. You're growing beyond the cards, beyond the crystals. And the only way is for me to take them from you. So I think in some cases, God is letting, you know, the fallen angels come in and kind of scare people a little bit, to have them be like, oh, hey, I guess I do have fear here. I guess I'm not fearless.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really just like, it's like sort of the hard lessons that God does sometimes. I don't think that's because God's a mean God. It's because God is like, you're better than this. You're stronger than this. I made you to be brighter than this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's called wake up.
Yeah, it's called wake up. I love how she is so frank about everything. Yeah, it's called wake up. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I said, I want to show the other day, I said, listen, it's like this. We've got a choice at the moment, right? There's two vehicles that we can attach our reins to, right? Two. That's it. That's a choice. And I said, and I'm choosing to attach my reins to this chariot over here because it's a chariot of God, right? We've got two choices. We can either go that way or we can go this way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to you in regard to which way you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I go, but I'm attaching my reins onto this chariot that's got God written on it. That's his chariot. Off we go, God.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's like, and let's get that light out there, and hopefully it will open people's eyes. Hopefully, by having a platform like this and us being honored to be able to share our beliefs in God and Jesus Christ, that's not the church's God and the church's Jesus Christ. And this is where I believe that a lot of us got lost and we walked away because it was their teaching. It wasn't the true teaching.
Yeah.
So I just pray that their ears are opening, that they hear it, that it trickles down and something sparks in here. Yeah.
Exactly. And
you know, for like, right, okay, you're going to be with our group because our group is going in this direction, and whatever happens to this group, it's like that is of God's way. But it's also the way that the individual has chosen. We have to honor people's journeys. We have to honor their choices.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And it's not our responsibility to go and save them. No, we'll not do the rescuing for the victim. The victim's got to realize how they've created what they've created in their lives, take responsibility and do something about changing that. Anyway, that's my rave.
And well, that rave, you know, basically what we're all saying here is, if you have a relationship with Source, you're not going to be in fear. You're going to be in huge excitement over what's happening right now, because we are very, very aware of a collapse of a society. This is basically the fall of the Roman Empire. We're just doing it in 2022, 2023, whatever, right? So if you have fear, then that's where you have to come back to the heart. Come home to the heart and find that relationship, kindle that relationship. And then just to talk about what you're saying, Nina, we all might be guarded, because I've been learning tarot only for a year, and I'm not using them as there's nothing outside of Source. I already know that. So I think absolutely we can all be asked to put something down if there is a challenge of it becoming an idol, because that's the temptress, I want to say, or the satanic illusion into believing that something else might be stronger, and we know that it's not. But they can still be used as tools.
But again, it's about handing your, and this is what I say to people who want to be free all the time. You are handing your power away. Bring your power back into you.
Yeah, who's driving the bus? Right? Who's driving the bus of your life? You know, for me, it's my monad.
That's it.
It's the Christ itself, the true self. This is just, this is the meat suit that I showed up in. You know, like that movie Avatar, right? I picked, you know, 5'3", you know, whatever. This is how I showed up. The light inside is a prism of rainbow that's unbelievable, because we're not, none of us are who we think we are. We're not. We're like superheroes. We're using 1% of our body's technology. Right.
It's like I've been experiencing healing with the Tesla coils over here. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Yeah, all frequency healing. Yeah.
Well, just looking at the time,
Okay.
we've been an hour and 15. And any last sort of thoughts, words you want to impart before we say good evening, good morning, good day?
Go out, love yourself, love the world. Love yourself, love the world. I remember that it's like I sang in the church choir when I was a little girl, and they chose me to do a solo, and the solo was Jesus Wants Me for a Sunbeam. Oh. And I think like that's it. It's like I'm saying to people, go out there and be a sunbeam. Smile, be kind. You know, like I do the pay it forward. I would just leave $50 at the coffee shop, and I just go, the next 10 people that come in that are like struggling, you know, financially or whatever, or you're looking at them and they're not happy, just say to them, it's paid for. It's paid for. You just like be kind, but don't allow yourself to be used. Listen, God will give you the gut feelings of going like, enough, you're allowing yourself to be used here. That's not cool. Pull back your energy. Yeah, he's always talking. He's always giving you those gut feelings about things. So just go out there and shine and be kind. But it's like, but at the same time, honor yourself. You've got to honor yourself. You've got to look after you, because if you're not okay, nobody else is going to be okay.
Right. Nina.
Gorgeous Nina.
Thank you, Tamara.
Oh, thank you, Tamara. I would say I wanted to share my favorite prayer that I say every day, which is empty me of me and fill me up in you. And the more,
my God, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's a powerful one. But if you say that, you need to be ready to be emptied and filled up, because if you say that,
I love that.
Empty me of me and fill me up of you.
Yeah.
Empty me of me and fill me up with you.
Less of me, more of you. I want more of your spirit in me and who you made me to be, less of me. And I also say, keep me on a short leash. And that's because I don't want to stray. And it's very easy in this world to stray. And in the past, I strayed a whole lot. And so, you know, the other thing is, if you don't know what to do, wait.
Don't do anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
If you pray and God doesn't give you an answer, wait. Because I promise, don't run ahead of God.
Right. Yeah.
Don't run ahead until you know what to do. Don't do anything. If you don't know what to do and you're in the waiting mode, what I just keep doing is every day I just keep saying, I give this up to you. Even as far as to the point of like, if you're in a relationship and you're not sure if you should stay together, God, I give this person to you. I'm putting this on the altar. But even beyond that, for me personally, I have said to God, and I still just say to God all the time, my money is yours. My home is yours. My life is yours. My body is yours. Where I live, it's up to you. I wouldn't be alive anyways if it were for you. I should have died a million times over before you finally opened my eyes and I saw the spiritual warfare going on. So it's like, when you know you're alive because God has kept you alive, and you're like a cat with like 10 million lives, you're just like, oh my gosh, well, I would be dead already. I would have been dead at the age of 5. So, okay, here it's all of it is yours. Yeah. But the more that you give your life over to God, the more God will bless you. The more that you give it away. And I even put my gifts on the altar. I even was like, I want to make sure these gifts are from you. I'm not going to do this work anymore. I'm not going to do any of this. I'm not going to use these gifts. And the more I gave them to God, God made them bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, until I was finally like, okay, all right. I can't suppress this, because this is naturally in me. You gave this to me. This isn't something that I you know, sometimes people get gifts that are not really natural gifts, and it's like an exchange of black magic that's going on, or witchcraft, and they don't realize it. And when they bring Jesus into their heart, they lose those gifts. There are stories like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was not the case with me. And then the other thing I would tell people is just remember that love covers a multitude of sins. And unfortunately, right now, they're twisting the word love. But we have to remember that love also comes with respect, reverence, righteousness, the fruits of the Spirit. And all of this, and that's what's every single thing that we've talked about today. And all of the things that we value in the spiritual community that we naturally resonate with, it's all in Scripture. It's everything that the Holy Spirit grows within us and blooms within us. And no matter what happens, just know that God is in control and God's word is unchanging. And if you keep yourself focused on those words, those promises, it doesn't matter what's happening in the world. It doesn't matter what the latest attack is, or the this, or what they do, or what inflation is. And one more thing, sorry, I'm so excited here, because this is what I'm experiencing in my life. God said to me, there's two timelines happening. There are those that are living in the world, that are enslaved to the world. That's like Satan is the ruler of the world. We could call it the matrix, right? Yeah. For those, yes, inflation is real. Poverty is real. Hunger is real. But those in my spirit will be experiencing inflation of joy, abundance, peace, harmony, right? So as we're doing this right now. And that's because those that are doing this are meant to look at these that are like God's sort of supermodels, because we're walking in the Christed light, and we're like these lighthouses. We're meant to shine. And they're going, how is your life so amazing? And you're like, Jesus, God, you want some of that? And they're like, I do. And then boom, guess what? He gets another one. So, you know, it's like, we are these divine lighthouses, and we're meant to shine. And just don't be afraid. And if you find yourself afraid, just call on Jesus, because that's what Jesus is here for. And I just pray that anybody listening to this, if you don't think you need Jesus, because I loved Jesus, but I didn't really understand who Jesus was. I just invite you to say what I said. Just say, Jesus, do I need you? 2 weeks later, my whole life changed. I thought, oh, I'm this spiritual yogini. I'm a raw Buddhist. I'm good. I have it all together. Jesus, do I need you? God put me on my knees in 2 weeks. It's the best thing he ever did to me.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, I always say to people, let go and let God.
Let go and let God.
I go, let go, let God.
Amen.
Let go, let God. Let go, let God. Yeah.
And I don't know if I got any. I don't know if I got any words that can top anything that you ladies have already shared, because it's the same message, right? Different language, the same message. And what I would say to folks is you're found in the seeking. The moment you declare, I would like a relationship, watch your world change. Number one. Number two, the easiest way is to focus on the heart, to focus on that native frequency, to feel that love. Because to your point, they've used love as a weapon, because love is, it's either intimate or it's family love, but love is the strongest power in fact in all of creation. And what those who think they can steer the world in a direction that is not what Creator wants for humanity and for this beautiful planet that we need to be better caretakers of, that is actually what is going to win this spiritual war, is by putting on the armor of God. God, walk with me.
You got it. You got
God,
it.
walk with me. Because that's what I said every time.
Eye on the cross when you go to bed at night, cross under you.
Yeah, see, I use an infinity. I imagine an infinity symbol. And I also bring in, so there's all kinds of ways, but those are some very simple, because sometimes it can be perhaps a little overwhelming. Where the hell do I start? But the point is, you're found in the seeking. Source is very neutral in your choices, and it's all about love. At the end of the day, it's the L word. L for love.
And how does it start? It starts with the first step. That's it.
Yeah. So thank you, ladies. I'm going to stop the recording now, but don't go anywhere.
Love you, girls.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. sign off and then we'll
Bye, everyone. Bye.